Peace and greetings, family. Welcome to another edition of Baba TV, Every Time Fire. And before the lens, it's my absolute privilege to be in the company of the oldest of 8 children born to Mrs. Betty Gladden, bless her soul. May she rest in peace. This is the oldest brother of our great brother, producer, arranger, writer, producer of other groups, just musical genius among other things. This is Brother Carmen Sims, his elder brother, and he has given me the privilege of having a few moments of his time to talk about his brother, to talk about things that we may not know about his brother. You know, we always hear on the TV that, you know, he's did cocaine and all the negative stuff. People made sure that we knew that, but I think there's a lot more to the man. You know, when we look at a lot of even the white entertainers, Elvis Presley, he popped pills, married a girl, Priscilla, I think she was 14 at the time, but they're never reminded of their past. We bring out the greatness in them, and that's what we want to talk about today, is the greatness of our brother, Rick James. Not that he was perfect, but we want to talk about the greatness, and I'm surely not qualified to deal with that. That's why we have this brother right here, this elder brother before the lens of Baba TV, who can help us tremendously with that. First of all, how was your trip to Syracuse, and how were you, sir?
Thank you, Ron. It was very nice. Me and Orange drove down this morning. It took us about 2.5 hours, and it was a very nice trip. Glad to be in your fair city.
Nice. I ended up seeing the documentary that Showtime put out. I saw it. I woke up this morning and it just happened to be available, and I stayed up all morning. I woke up at about 3 o'clock this morning, and I started playing it, and it was a whole lot of stuff that I didn't know about the man. Let's first talk about growing up, your family, your mother and her relationship to, Rick, and, just the struggle coming up in Buffalo, New York.
Thank you. I was, being the oldest of 8 children, I was partially raised by my grandparents. So my mother had me very young. She was about 14 when I was born. So it was almost like a baby having a baby. So we were in Cleveland, Ohio at that time. And it happens that my mother was trying to be a singer and a dancer and a lot of other things. She was young and she was trying to do different things. She was still growing. And my grandparents were moving from Cleveland to Erie, PA. So the way conditions were, they took me with them, my grandmother and my grandfather, whose name was Lawson Walker. They took me to Erie with them, and my mother was kind of moving around at that time, so I only seen her sporadically when I was small, because she was always trying to do her own career, and she wanted to be a singer and a dancer, and was pretty good at what she did. So those early years, I was with my grandmother, and she was on the road. She would come through. I would see her, and I eventually knew who she was, because she made herself known to me. So after she moved around a lot and she grew, and as she gained in knowledge, she wound up that she was in Buffalo, New York. So once she kind of stabilized, and I was in school in PA, I went to live with her in Buffalo. Me and my sister Camille, and she was right under me, and she had been with her father. Homer Robinson. So we came together. My mother had tried on several different occasions to raise us together, and we had lived in Akron for a while, and we're back in Cleveland. But this was sort of a final destination, and she met James A. Johnson, James Ambrose Johnson, Hitchy Boy to some, and they hit it off. He was fresh from the Navy, and she was just wanting to settle down. So the Johnson clan came into being, and my sister and I were there. I was going to school 31. We were living in Willard Park Projects on the corner of Jefferson and Peckham, and my sister was also going to 31, I believe. And along came James A. Johnson Jr. He was number one. Being the oldest, I've seen all of my siblings when they were small, and I laughingly say I had the opportunity to change all of their diapers, and they all had the opportunity to shit on me in one way or another. And that has continued in one form or another, but all in the name of love. So I watched them come one by one. Jim was first. My sister and I kind of watched them grow. We watched Jim, or James, if you want to call him, or Rick, and then Roy came, and then Cheryl came, and then Bertie came, and then our baby brother Head came, and then Penny came. Now there were some others that didn't make it. My mother had some abortions or whatever happened, and so we have a couple of brothers and sisters that probably didn't make the cut. But this was the 8 that was going to be, and I never thought about it one way or the other. We just was. Hitchy Boy was a very good man. He was a young man. My mother always liked younger men. That was one of her things. She didn't hide it. Her honesty there was very, very good. So anyway, Hitchy Boy did his best. The rest of the Johnsons, it was kind of beautiful. We had a cantankerous relationship with Mama Peggy, because she always felt that that my mother had sabotaged Hitchy Boy into marrying her, which was not the case. Hitchy loved my mother, and they made a good pair. So we were joined to the Johnsons in a way, but to Uncle T and to Sister and the boys. But Mama Peggy was always different. She had a hate for us because she always thought that my mother had spoiled her son's life. Hitchy Boy was a very, very good dude. I liked him. I mean, he was a stepfather to me. I'd had other stepfathers, but he was kind of special. So in between there, I would go back to Pennsylvania or back and forth. I had my own little problems, but he always treated me well. I used to always jokingly say that he defanged me. He used to take my knives and my zip guns and my billy clubs, because, I mean, 31 was not the most peaceful school to go to at that time. There was gangs in there, and they were jumping. So I would always kind of arm myself, and he would always take my things from me because he didn't want me to get in trouble. Like I say, he was a good man. They fought a lot. They were a lot alike. They had tempers. But our family thrived pretty good. He was a working man. He worked construction. And it was a pretty good family. So I was moving back and forth to Pennsylvania. So I didn't have that real cohesive hold with my brothers and my sister. They all knew who I was, but I was always in and out, being the oldest, because I was trying to find what I was about to. So anyway, they grew up. They kept growing, and anytime there was a problem, my mother would call me. Her and Hitchy, they broke up eventually because they fought each other. And I can remember one night, my mother, Hitchy was out someplace, and she took me, and we walked down to North Division. We walked, and that was a long way back in those days. We walked down, and Hitchy was messing with this girl, and she had found out where they lived. So she had me for protection against anything happening to her. So we walked down, and she broke out every window in Hitchy's car, and we had to run back because he was running behind us. We got back up to Willard Park Project, back to our apartment, and she locked me out too. She said, "You're a man, That's it. You can't come in the house either. So we both got locked out. So both of us are outside in the hallway. And I had to laugh at that. That was just one of many instances. I love my mother. She had that temper. So they grew up, man. They had their own set of problems. Ricky got in trouble. Rick, or James Johnson, whatever you want to call him, he got in trouble. Roy got hurt very early. Roy got hurt. He was on the corner, I believe, of Ferry and Jefferson. A truck was turning. He was on his bike, and I think the truck hit the bike, and the truck kept turning. The guy didn't see it, and he got drugged underneath it, and he broke almost every bone in his body. I mean, my brother Roy has been through something. He was in a total body cast. I was in PA at that time. I got a call that my brother was in the hospital, and they didn't know if he was going to live or die. So I come running back. I had a girlfriend, Lois. I had some kids by that time too, and I come running back from Pennsylvania. It was late when I got here. Visiting hours were over. I run in the hospital, running past orderlies and push them in their face. Anyway, I walk in and I see him in this total body cast. All I can see is his eyes, and this is the way Roy's attitude was even then. Roy looks at me, and I'm saying, "Man, are you all right, man?" And he looks at me and says, "How did you get in, Carmen? It's after visiting hours. I done ran 100 miles, driving 80, 90 miles an hour, and my brother wants to know how did I get in the hospital." That analytical mind of his. So that's my brother Roy. So anyway, I watched him grow. You know, my mother would call me if there was a problem. I'd come down and help her deal with it. And I remember I was training back then. I'm a martial artist, and I have several belts. But back in those days, I was in early training. So when I would come down, I used to stand them up against the door. By that time, we were in Fullerton Projects. I would use them not for target practice, but for a silhouette training, and they would be threatening to tell Mama. I never hit them. I never stabbed them with a knife. I always stuck them in the door. But they had that fear of me because they knew that I was a little deadly. But I never hurt them, never beat them up. But I would come down to kind of tighten up things. Back in those days, my mother was doing numbers, and for a woman to do numbers like anything else was kind of hard. So sometimes she would have problems with people who would try to take advantage of her. So she would call me, and I'd come down, and I would talk with them and deal with them. So that was just natural.